Hello everyone. I don't have any TVs to show today. I've got another project that I want to show instead. This is a MAME cabinet in front of us. Now, the most important thing to state is that my philosophy on this cabinet is that, let's say for example I had one arcade cabinet with an authentic arcade board in it and another arcade cabinet identical but running a PC and MAME inside. My goal is to have the MAME cabinet basically identical to the authentic item, and that's what I've set out to achieve with this cabinet here, and I think I'm pretty close to the goal. So I'm just going to go through the details of how I achieved that with this cabinet. Now this arcade machine here it's a genuine arcade cabinet from about 1992, made by Leisure and Allied Industries, company here in Australia that used to be the biggest importer and distributor of arcade equipment. We'll go around the machine and have a look at it. It's got a 4-player plate on it right now, 4 joysticks with 3 buttons each and start buttons. The marquee on top is just one that I put in there to fill the blank space, Warriors of Fate. Here at the front there's the coin door where the coin mech is normally located. I've taken it out. I don't need to operate a coin mech. I don't feel the need for that. I'll go into these things a bit more, but here at the front it's still got all the original hardware inside it, plus the PC that you can see here on the right side that I'm pointing to. I could take out the coin box and even this jammer box harness thing here, but I prefer to keep these machines as close to the original as possible. Could be quite easy to convert it back into a straight jammer cabinet, but we'll come back later and have a look at that. There's the manual there, 25-inch screen size, or 59 centimeters. There's the side of the cabinet. Around the back here you've got the hatch that you can open, get access to the tube and the chassis there. They're not original tube and chassis, by the way, but I'll talk more about that again in a moment. Here's the other side. It's just a generic cabinet. It's not dedicated to any game in particular. Just got Turtles running there right now, MAME. So the way this PC interfaces with this arcade cabinet is through the well-known JPAC device. Probably can't see it there too well, but I'm not going to go into the JPAC much because there's plenty of information on that out there. And I've also got beside it there an iPack to connect players 3 and 4 to the PC to get the 4-player action happening. What I want to concentrate now on is this PC here. I'll take it out of the cabinet and we can have a closer look at it. Okay, the PC's out. The PC I'm using is a Dell Optiplex 755. The main reason I'm going for this one here is because it's fairly compact in size and it needs to be in order to fit into the cavity in there. Dell have 4 different sizes in this range. This is the second smallest. I could have gone one even smaller than this, but it doesn't have the PCI Express slot that I wanted, as this one here does. This video card here, I can't remember the model off the top of my head. It's PCI Express card, but it's made by ATI Radeon card. It's probably the most special thing in the setup here. It is a stock sort of standard card, but I'm running a custom driver for it to work with the screen in the cabinet, so I'll talk more about that shortly. You notice that this is a tight fit into the cabinet there, and it's probably a bit restrictive on airflow, so that's why I run it without the lid on. I just keep that off so I can allow some of the hot air to get out, and hopefully it won't overheat. I haven't had any problems with it yet, so fingers crossed. This tube inside the cabinet is not original. The brand is LG Philips. It's out of a television. It's just a regular everyday picture tube out of a television, and the chassis here is not original either. This is a Sharp Image branded chassis. I bought this off a fellow in Western Australia by the name of Joe Mac. That's his business name, Joe Mac. He actually sells universal arcade chassis that can be suited to most picture tubes from various makes of television out there, and that's what I got him to do. He customised this chassis to match this tube, and it works pretty good. And here's the little control board with the pots on it to make screen adjustments. So it is a true arcade chassis. There's no problem there, and everything operates according to that. The tube is horizontally mounted into the cabinet. It can be rotated to vertical, and the bezel can be rotated accordingly to run vertical. I should make mention that being a MAME cabinet, what I've basically decided upon is that all the ROMs that I'm running in this cabinet are horizontal ROMs, because the tube's horizontal, I'm only running horizontal. The tube and chassis are a 15 kilohertz combination, so I'm not going to be running any mid-res Sega or Atari games or any 31 kilohertz games. It's strictly 15 kilohertz horizontal, and the PC doesn't really have enough clout to run any 3D games, so it's a 2D affair only. 2D games, 15K horizontal, that's the ROM sets that I'll have. And because it's a 4-player cabinet as well, I basically only got 3 and 4-player games in this cabinet. I've got another cabinet over there that I use for 2-player games, for Street Fighter type stuff, but I'll concentrate on this one for now. In order to run this cabinet like a true arcade machine, I wanted to be able to power it on with just one switch and then be able to select ROMs from there. I don't want to have to individually switch on the cabinet and the PC inside, so I'll show you how I'm going about that. First things first, the control box here has some 240 volt outlets. I've made a cable that plugs in there. That plugs into a 240 volt out of that control box, and the other end here has a standard Australian socket on it, and all I do from there is just plug in the power board here, and that's got I can just plug in the PC, the monitor, chassis, the amp, whatever I need to power everything. So it's a one switch turn on and the whole lot turns on, and I'll show you how I do that with the PC because that's a little bit tricky. Okay, so the PC tower out of the main cabinet's on top of the table here, and it's hooked up to a regular PC monitor. Now this is important. What you want to do is there in system, you want to go to power management, go into that, and you'll see AC recovery. Go into that. There is a choice to have AC recovery on off last. Now turn that to on, and what this does is as soon as the power supply of the PC is supplied with power, the computer will turn on. You don't have to be worried about pushing the button on the front of the tower like you do normally with the PC. Those power on off switches connect to the motherboard, then the motherboard connects to the power supply. This bypasses all of that, and as you saw before, the power board in the arcade cabinet, it's got a power cord running out and into the PC here, so as soon as the power to the cabinet's turned on, it goes into the power board and it goes into the power supply and turns the PC on. So it's all automatic. You don't have to do any manual switching to get your PC going, and that's how you do it in the BIOS, and I believe that most PCs have this ability. Let's have a look at this amp. The brand is Li-Pi. It's just a cheap Chinese amp. It's got bass and treble control there and a volume knob there, power on off. Built into the heatsink is some mounting areas there on the sides. That's how I put it into the cabinet wall. Just put some wood screws in there to hold it in place. On the back here you've got your outlets to go to your speakers left and right. This cabinet does have 2 speakers built into it and provision for stereo sound. There's your power in, 12 volts DC. I've got a transformer that runs into the power board that I showed you before. There's the power board again. And here's the sound going in left and right, and that comes from the PC. It's just simply a headphone jack on the PC end and 2 RCAs there. The brand again, Li-Pi. The model is LP-2020A+. Now these are just a cheap eBay amp. This is the second one I've got, and I paid maybe $20–30 for it landed, but I found the performance has been really good on this thing. If you know about arcade boards, they all tend to have their own amps built into them. Here's just some arcade game of some description, and you can see that there's next to the heatsink that black knob there, that's to adjust the volume, and on the arcade board. So they all have their own amps built in, but a PC doesn't. It just has sound out with no amplification, and for these cabinets you need amplification, hence this is the purpose of the amp here. Here's the box for it. There's probably gazillions of different box styles and colours of amps, but I can recommend it. Unlike this one here, I've tried different ones. This one's just some other El Cheapo DX Hi-Fi. It doesn't boost the sound anywhere near as good as the Li-Pi, and it's quite noisy too, but I can tell you the Li-Pi will drive this cabinet no problems, and it sounds louder and it's cleaner, if not cleaner, than an arcade board, so I can recommend that. So what we've got now is the result of turning the power onto the cabinet. So one switch, the switching on of one switch will get you to this screen. The PC inside runs Windows XP 32-bit version, and to get to here probably takes about 20-30 seconds from turning on, get past the boot up screen, and you get to here. You don't get the Windows desktop. It comes straight into here. It's masked right up, so you don't see any windows. That's how I want it. One switch press and you're on to the selection screen here. So I'm using the Mala front end, or Mailer, I don't know how you pronounce it, but I don't know if Malar's really any better than any other ones, but I tried about 6 different front ends, and this is the only one that I could get working in this setup I've got here. It's got all the features I want, I think, and I'm impressed with it, so that's why I'm using it. So that's the front end, and I've got 89 games in this list. These are 3 and 4 player games. I do have other lists available. You can just push across and get to 465 ROMs there, but just stick to the 4 player ones here. So it's all controlled by the joysticks. You don't need a keyboard once you've set it up. You want to play Turtles, press start. There's your MAME stat screen there. I think you can remove it, but I actually like it. And there's your game running. I know some people like to equip their cabinets with extra buttons to function like a keyboard, but I'm not really into that. I like the clean look of pure arcade style. Here on the front, this is normally a lock to lock the coin mech door, but I've actually turned it into a credit button.
Fire! Hang on.
If I want to exit, all I have to do is push down and start, and then I'm back at the menu straight away. You will find from time to time that you will need to plug a keyboard in to configure your PC settings, and the PC does have a couple of USB ports at the front for convenience. However, I'm trying to go for something different here. Here I've got a little wireless keyboard. This is a cheap Chinese keyboard. This one works pretty well, but the other one I've got not so well. They're both called the Mini keyboard or something like that. It's wireless. It can store its own little USB, there we go, Bluetooth USB receiver that can go into the USB port of your PC. It's tiny. I'll exit out of the front end. So there's the Windows desktop in front of us, and this has a little pad to move your mouse cursor around. I'll zoom in a bit. You can see the mouse cursor moving there. You can close windows. You can do everything. It's not as good as a real keyboard, but it's kind of just a nice little convenience to have. Double click on the Mala front end to get it going again. And there we go, back in the front end. You can just turn it off with the on-off switch at the side here, and then put it away. Open the coin door and just slip it in there, and there's basically your keyboard and your mouse in there. 2 things that I haven't yet done on the cabinet, and one is just basically tidy up inside. There's a lot of loose stuff laying about and it's all untidy, and I'm probably going to take that coin box out to free up some room. But that's just a minor detail. But the one important thing that I haven't done yet that I want to do is extend the cable on this chassis adjustment board. I showed you this before. Now this isn't long enough, this cable, to run out to the front of the cabinet, unfortunately. But if you can just imagine if that little board was attached, here you go, you open your coin mech door, just imagine if that little board was attached on here, how easy it would be to make screen adjustments on the fly. Just open the door and bang, straight away you're adjusting. And that brings me probably to the last and the most important thing on this cabinet. If you operate arcade boards for real, you'll know that when you change them, you sometimes have to recenter the picture because the various boards run at different resolutions and refresh rates, so you need to adjust things. And I think if you're going to have accurate emulation, you really need to have that happening, because that's how it operates in arcade. That's how it is in the real world. So some of you might be thinking I'm running an arcade VGA card here, but I'm not. it's quite similar to that, but I'm running GroovyMAME, and basically and that custom driver for the video card. Some of ATI's cards from the past have a very low dot clock rate and can generate low resolutions and refresh rates which suit the arcade cabinet as such in front of us. You'll notice here I've got this is Turtles 2 that I'm about to run through GroovyMAME, and the video for it's 304 by 224 at a 60 Hz refresh rate. Well, switch res, which is another part of the whole GroovyMAME thing, is switching the game into that resolution exactly the same. So that's why it looks so close to the true arcade way. It does this for every game. Not every game is an exact match. I haven't yet been able to create identical resolutions for every ROM. I'm not an expert with GroovyMAME by any means, but I've got it at a point where it's running very well, and the games look really good. I mean, this is displayed, this is progressive, there's no interlacing here, there's no upscaling or downscaling. This is pure 15K, and it looks bloody fantastic. So that's about it. That's where it's at the moment. So really, GroovyMAME and that video card is the key, I think, to getting the authentic experience. So anyway, thanks for watching, and I haven't put out any videos for a while, but I haven't got as much material to show, so maybe in a month or two I'll have something else. Thank you, goodbye.